Let's get right into it. Number 10. The system isn't broken. The school system isn't broken. It's working perfectly. Someone who can't negotiate their salary accepts whatever number their boss writes down. Someone who can't read a contract signs whatever gets slid across the desk. Someone who can't budget spends every paycheck before it arrives. That person needs their job desperately. A desperate employee is an obedient employee. Economists call this learned helplessness. When you teach someone their actions don't change their outcomes, they stop trying. Do that to a dog in a lab and it sits in a cage even when the door is open. Do that to a kid for 12 years and they sit in a cubicle even when the door is open. Schools teach you to dissect a frog, a skill you'll use 0 times. They don't teach you to dispute a medical bill, a skill that could save you thousands. They spend a semester on the causes of World War I, but 0 minutes on how credit card interest works. One of these will actually destroy your life. Some say parents should teach this, but most parents were educated by the same system. The helplessness is passed down. Finland teaches personal finance in schools. Denmark teaches critical thinking. These countries rank at the top for quality of life. America ranks 17th in education and 1st in credit card debt. That's not a coincidence. It's a policy choice. You stop waiting for the system to fix itself. It won't. You learn this stuff yourself. You find it, you share it, you teach it. Because the most dangerous thing you can be to a system built on your helplessness is someone who figured it out anyway. Number 9. How to fix your own stuff. Your phone screen cracked 6 months ago. You assumed fixing it would cost as much as a new one. It doesn't. A replacement screen costs between $15 and $40. The repair shop charges $150 because they assume you'll never learn to do it yourself. Your stuff isn't breaking by bad luck. It's a business strategy called planned obsolescence, designing products to fail right after the warranty expires. Apple was fined millions for deliberately slowing down older iPhones. They admitted it. They use a special 5-pointed pentalobe screw just to keep you from opening your own device. The tool to beat it costs $3 online. A website called iFixit has free step-by-step repair guides for almost every device. The average American throws away 44 pounds of e-waste every year. Most of it just needs a new battery, a screen, or one small part that costs $8. Start small. A cracked phone screen, a dryer that won't heat. YouTube has a tutorial for it. The only thing standing between you and fixing your own stuff is the belief that you can't. That belief was installed on purpose. Number 8. Your brain has bugs. Your brain has bugs. Factory settings that never got updated. And the people selling you things know every single one. First is the sunk cost fallacy. You're 45 minutes into a terrible movie, but keep watching because you already invested the time. That's why people stay in jobs they hate for 10 years. The time is already gone. The only question is, does staying make sense from today forward? Next is the anchoring effect. A store shows a jacket for $200, but first shows the original price of $500. Suddenly, $200 feels like a steal. In salary negotiations, whoever says a number first wins because the other person's brain anchors to it. If you say $70,000 first, the whole conversation revolves around that number. Finally, confirmation bias. Your brain isn't looking for truth. It's looking for proof that it's already right. If you believe your boss dislikes you, every neutral email sounds passive-aggressive. Your coworker, who thinks the boss loves them, reads the same email and feels nothing. Same email, 2 different realities. You can't delete these bugs, but you can learn to pause. When you feel a strong pull to buy, stay, or agree, ask which bias is talking. That pause is your best defense. Number 7. How to dispute a bill. Medical bills have an error rate around 80%. Most people just pay them, not knowing they can question it. Almost every bill is negotiable. There are specific words that unlock this. When you call, don't say, "I think there's a mistake." Say, "I'd like to speak with your billing dispute department," not customer service. That phrase moves you past the people paid to make you give up. For medical bills, ask for an itemized bill. Hospitals are legally required to provide this. You'll find things like a $45 charge for a blanket or duplicate charges. Call back and say, "I'm disputing these specific line items." Don't say, "This seems high." For credit card charges, the magic phrase is, "I'd like to initiate a chargeback." A chargeback costs the company money and paperwork. Suddenly, they're very interested in resolving the issue directly. After you state your dispute, stop talking. The person on the other end is trained to outlast you. If they say no, ask for a supervisor. If the supervisor says no, ask for the formal appeals process. There is always an appeals process. Companies don't advertise it because it means more paperwork and a higher chance you'll win. Number 6. How to recognize burnout. You were taught that tired means you're working hard. Nobody told you the difference between tired and broken. Tired goes away after a good night's sleep. Burnout doesn't care if you sleep. You can get 9 hours and wake up feeling like you got hit by a bus. That's your first sign. Rest stops working. Think of your energy like a phone battery. Normally you charge to 100% overnight. Burnout is a broken charging cable. You plug in all night and wake up at 14%. There are 3 stages. Stage 1. Everything feels harder than it should. Answering an email feels like writing a novel. That's not laziness. It's your brain running out of fuel. Stage 2. You stop caring. You used to take pride in your work. Now you just want it over. That emotional flatness is called depersonalization. Your brain putting up a wall to protect itself. Stage 3. Your body starts talking. Constant headaches, getting sick every month, stomach aches for no reason. This is a sign the problem has been ignored for a long time. School rewarded the kid who stayed up until 3 a.m., calling it dedication. It was practice for ignoring your own warning signs. A car with no oil will destroy its own engine, no matter how good the driver is. Number 5. The walkaway fund. There's a dollar amount in a bank account that gives one person all the power in the room. It's called a walkaway fund, and it's terrifying to your employer. It's enough cash saved so that if your job becomes unbearable, you can quietly grab your coffee mug and never come back. Because you can. Most people are one missed paycheck from panic. Companies count on it. Imagine your manager announces mandatory unpaid overtime. Person A has $200 in their account and nods, dying inside. Person B has 6 months of expenses saved and is already doing the math. Same meeting, different reality. The target is 3 to 6 months of your actual expenses, not your income, rent, food, utilities. The number is smaller than you think. This money lives in a separate high-yield savings account you don't touch. Set up an automatic transfer, even if it's just $50. The habit matters more than the amount. When this fund grows, you start walking differently at work. The fund changes your posture before you ever spend a dollar. That's the real product, not the money, the posture. Most people who build this fund don't walk away. They just stop being afraid, and that changes how they negotiate, perform, and are treated. Number 4. The power of a paper trail. HR has a saying, if it's not in writing, it didn't happen. They use it against you. Time to use it against them. That raise your boss mentioned in the hallway never happened. That promotion you were promised, gone, until you write it down. After any important conversation, send a follow-up email. Subject, following up on our conversation. Then recap what was said. Just wanted to confirm we discussed my salary review in March. Looking forward to it. Now it exists. You just turned a hallway promise into a document. When a manager tells you to do something that feels wrong, email them for clarification. Just want to make sure I understood correctly. You'd like me to process this without the usual approval? If it goes sideways, you have proof you were following orders. If they tell you not to put it in writing, that's a major red flag. When someone at work is making your life miserable, keep a log. Date, time, what happened, who witnessed it. Tuesday, March 4th, 3 p.m. Manager raised voice in front of team. Sarah and Tom present. This is how people win HR cases, not by remembering, but by having written records. Keep this log on your personal device, not your work computer. The moment you're fired, your work accounts disappear. Number 3. Reading the fine print. That employment contract is a legal document, and they spent 4 years teaching you Shakespeare instead of how to read it. First, the non-compete clause. This says if you leave, you can't work for a competitor. Some are so broad they can make you unemployable in your own industry for up to 2 years. Next, the arbitration clause. This says if the company does something illegal, you can't sue them in court. Instead, you go to a private arbitrator the company picks and pays. Studies show employees win these cases far less often. Then, the intellectual property clause. This can say anything you create while employed belongs to the company. Even projects you build on your own time, on your own computer, if it's related to your job. Your side project? They might own it. And at-will employment. It means they can fire you for almost any reason. It also means you can leave tomorrow with no notice. 2 weeks' notice is a courtesy, not a legal requirement in most places. Never sign on the spot. A company that pressures you is a red flag. Take it home. You can negotiate these terms. Ask for clauses to be removed or narrowed. If they refuse, at least you know what you're walking into. Number 2. Corporate doublespeak. Companies have a language they invented to mess with your head. The moment a company calls itself a family, run. Real families don't make you reapply for your job during restructuring. Watch out for unlimited PTO. Studies show employees with unlimited PTO take less time off than those with a set number of days. If nothing is guaranteed, taking vacation feels like a risk. The company saves money and gets to sound generous. It's a magic trick. We're looking for a passionate team member, means someone who will work overtime without complaining. Passion is unpaid enthusiasm. We invest in our people, usually means a 1-hour webinar, not a raise. Learn to read a job listing like a translator. Fast-paced environment means chaotic and understaffed. Wear many hats means you'll do 3 jobs for 1 salary. Self-starter means no one will train you. Competitive salary means they won't tell you the number until the 3rd interview. Once you learn this language, you can't unlearn it, and that's why it isn't taught in school. If everyone understood the code, companies would have to change. Number 1. How to negotiate your salary. Most people treat a job offer like a gift. They say thank you and sign, but the company didn't pick a number based on your worth. They picked the lowest number they thought you'd accept. People who negotiate their first salary earn thousands more per year, compounding into hundreds of thousands over a career. The company expects you to negotiate. HR budgets for it. If you don't ask, they just keep the money. First, never give a number first. If they ask your desired salary, flip it. I'd love to hear what range you have budgeted for this role. Whoever says a number first loses. If you say $60,000 and they were ready to offer $75,000, you just lost $15,000. When they give you an offer, pause. Silence is your best weapon. Let them sit in it. Then say, "Thank you. I'm excited about this opportunity. I was expecting something closer to X based on my research." Expecting is professional. Wanting is desperate. Always anchor higher than your goal. If you want $70,000, ask for $78,000. They'll negotiate down, and you'll land where you wanted, and negotiate more than salary. If they won't move on the number, ask for an extra week of vacation, a signing bonus, or a 6-month salary review instead of 12. These have real dollar value and are often easier for them to approve. An employee who doesn't know their worth costs less. The system runs smoothly when you don't know how to negotiate. They taught you to be polite, then sent you into a room with someone whose job is to pay you as little as possible. That's all for today. I'll be making similar videos in the future. Subscribe to see them.